For many of us, being able to vote for our national representatives in Europe seems like a given. But this has not always been the case. Let's look back on the story of the European Parliament's elections and its journey towards becoming the only directly elected transnational democratic assembly in the world. The idea of electing European representatives existed since the creation of the first European institutions. In the 1950s, what we now know as the European Parliament started out as the Common Assembly of the European Coal and Steel Community. Its members were not directly elected. They were national politicians with a dual mandate to represent their country in Europe. As time went on, the issue of direct elections became more and more urgent, as demands from politicians and civil society to make the European integration project more democratic grew.
De noodzaak van Europese verkiezingen is nu groter dan ooit.
Citizens all over Europe demonstrated, held symbolic elections and sent petitions asking for the right to vote directly. Finally, it was decided to hold the first elections by direct universal suffrage in 1979. This was the first time ever that citizens were called to the polls to directly elect the members of a European Parliament.
Per la prima volta nella storia, 180 milioni di europei di 9 paesi eleggeranno insieme il Parlamento europeo.
Pour la première fois, en effet, dans l'histoire, les Européens ont élu, ensemble, leurs délégués à une assemblée commune qui représente aujourd'hui, dans cette salle, plus de 260 millions de citoyens.
In the decades that followed, they continued to vote on the issues that mattered to them as Europe was transforming.
Make your voice heard on the 14th of June.
In the 1980s, the European communities continued to develop as more countries joined, the Single European Act was adopted, and foreign relations were entrenched in the Cold War. In the 1990s, the development of a Europe without borders continued, with further expansion, the launch of the single market, and the opening of the Schengen area. In the 2000s, 12 new countries joined in Europe's largest enlargement. The euro became legal tender and the Lisbon Treaty was signed. In the 2010s, the EU faced new challenges together, from the financial crisis to climate change to Brexit. Since 1979, the European Parliament has transformed into one of the largest democratically elected assemblies in the world, representing nearly 500 million people in 27 countries. Every 5 years, EU citizens are called on to play their part in shaping Europe.
Whether you vote or not, those seats will be filled. Now you have a choice. Either you affect, you influence who sits on those seats, or you don't.